What is up YouTube? I'm GOAT74 here, bringing you guys the final week of the PTL. This week we are taking on Zach, coach of the Seoulgaleo Dynasty. We are going into this game with a 7-4 record, while my opponent is going into this game with a 3-8 record. Now to recap what happened last week for you guys, we did win that game in a pretty easy win overall, and it was really nice because we were on a big losing streak up to that point, and we won, so we got some momentum going into this game, which is really nice to have. I do have a few notes for you guys before we get into the actual battle itself. Very important in regards to the playoffs. Basically how the playoff system works is that there's 4 teams in the PTL Civil War, right? And the top team gets 6 playoff spots. The second and third get 3 spots, and the last place gets 2 spots. As I initially said, it was 6-4, 2-2. It's 6-3, 3-2. So I made that mistake. And then there's 2 extra slots. So the top 4 who aren't a part of that system make a wild card and get an extra round. So basically, for us in our position, if we win this game, we are locked for a spot for the GOAT Crusaders. We don't have to worry about wild card, and we get a bye week actually because there's a week off for the wild card. If we do lose this game, however, we are going to be in a wild card spot and have to have an extra play-in game in order to sink to the playoffs. I love playing Pokemon, but I really don't want to be in that wild card spot, so I really want to win this game. Otherwise, I would have been taking this game a lot more easily, but because we're in this scenario, I have to go pretty try-hard in this game anyway. But that is just a rundown of the whole playoff system. I'll probably re-bring it back up at the end of the video. So that is that for you guys. Looking at this matchup, his team does have a pretty glaring weakness that I can take advantage of. However, my opponent has a Galarian Darmanitan, and that thing is absolutely insanely busted. So we do have to go up against that. But otherwise, that is a quick rundown of the introduction there or whatever. And now we're going to get into Zach's team. My opponent, Zach, this week has a team consisting of Galarian Darmanitan, Ferrothorn, Togekiss, Rotom, Barbaracle, Gallade, Skuntank, Alolan Dugtrio, Butterfree, and Sableye. Now what I expect my opponent to bring consists of Darmanitan, Togekiss, Barbaracle, Gallade, Skuntank, and Sableye. He could bring the Rotom if it's going to be Specs maybe, because that thing's kind of scary. And then maybe Butterfree for like Sleep Powder, Quiver Dance nonsense. But otherwise, these are the 6 I'm sort of expecting. Threats on his team, he's got a Togekiss. While I do have really good answers to Togekiss in itself, I have very limited answers. So I only have like 2 switch-ins really, and that's kind of it. They're good, but if they go down, then it becomes a serious problem against my team because I have like 3 mons on this particular build this week that can't really touch Togekiss. So I have to be really careful about that. Skuntank, a special Skuntank is surprisingly very scary as well. I really don't have many switch-ins to that. I can revenge it pretty easily, but when it comes to like defensive walls, not that great. So I have to be really careful about that. He's got the GOAT Gallade because Gallade is just an absolute god. That thing is always scary. And then finally, he has a Barbaracle. I personally think he's going to make Barbaracle the win con this week just because it is really good against my team overall. And if you skim through his team, he's got an insane fire weakness. And Barbaracle is the one mon on the team that can take fire hits pretty well. He can take advantage of Cinderace and probably Shell Smash on top of it. So I have to be very careful of a late game Shell Smash if all my walls are chipped down a bit. Otherwise, those are the really only threats on the scene. That and of course Darmanitan, but what's there to say about Darmanitan? It just comes in and clicks a button. Otherwise, that is my opponent's team. Luckily, as I just said, his team is insanely Pyro Ball weak overall, and I'm going to try and take advantage of that as much as possible. Otherwise, that is sort of it for the team breakdown. What I am bringing this week, actually I do not have pulled up, I do apologize to you guys. What I'm bringing this week, it consists of Appleton, Rotom Wash, Golisopod, Cinderace, Silvally Steel, and Galarian Weezing. First up on the team this week is the good boy Appleton. Appleton is max HP, max defense, with the leftovers moves being Apple Acid, Body Press, Leech Seed, and Recover. I initially had Dragon Pulse over Leech Seed, but I saw that Togekiss was becoming a little bit of a problem, so I decided to drop it for Leech Seed in the end. Appleton is just a good overall wall against my opponent's team. It's not like the greatest against everything, but it can always take a hit from anything, like guaranteed, and get a decent hit off on something. Like Dugtrio, for example, Sableye, it's a really good switch into, the Gallade, and most importantly, the Barbaracle tier 4. A +2 Barbaracle should never be able to kill this Appleton in one hit, unless he crits me, of course. Otherwise, Appleton should be able just to knock that thing out, because Barbaracle, again, is the endgame I am expecting my opponent to go for, and Barbaracle is just a threat in general. It's also a switch into Rotom if it is not Specs. If it is Specs, it's a little bit scary, but otherwise, not that scary at all. Otherwise, Appleton is just here doing its thing and being a good boy this week. I have to be careful because it is walled by Togekiss, and I can't really touch Ferrothorn too much, and I don't want Ferrothorn to Hazard Stack me. I could body press him down, but again, Hazard Stack is a little bit scary. Otherwise, that is going to be Appleton this week. Next up is going to be Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash is max HP with mixed bulk, with the leftovers again. Moves being Volt Switch, Hydro Pump, Will-O-Wisp, and Defog. I have Will-O-Wisp because his team is more physically oriented than anything. While this is also a nice special switch into Togekiss as well. So that's why I have mixed bulk to switch into Togekiss while switching into some offensive mons like Alolan Dugtrio. I have special bulk for the Butterfree. I forgot to mention some physical bulk for Barbaracle if Appleton's down or whatever, just as a nice pivot. And then Galarian Darmanitan, of course. This is one of my quote switch-ins to Darm if it's not like Bandit or anything, because then there's just no switch-ins. But I didn't need Thunderbolt. Bolt Switch is good for pivoting overall. Again, Will-O-Wisp just for his physical attackers, and then Defog for his hazards deck if he decides to bring Ferrothorn in the end. I don't want rocks up on my side of the field because I have some rock weak mons this week. That is going to be Rotom Wash. Next is going to be Gliscopod. Gliscopod is holding the Insect Plate with max attack and Animate Nature. Moves being a First Impression, a Close Combat, Aqua Jet, and Sucker Punch. Yeah, I got a lot of priority on this mon this week, but I wanted to make sure I could hit almost everything. First Impression does like 70% to Darm and a few other mons as well. It does so much damage. Sucker Punch is for the Rotom if it wants to come. It never has to kill me because Sucker Punch basically just nukes that thing. Aqua Jet hits Alolan Dugtrio really hard. I forget how much it does, but it does a lot of damage. And then CC there is there just for the Ferrothorn and the Barbaracle for another hit that's not priority. So that's pretty cool. This is another mon I can't really touch Togekiss, so I do have to be a little bit careful about that. Sorry, I keep burping. And yeah, that's basically Gliscopod, just to make sure set up mons on his team don't get out of hand because I have some good priority on this mon. Fourth up is going to be one of our win cons this week. It is going to be Cinderace. This is max attack, 188 speed, Jolly Nature, speed to outspeed Dugtrio. Moves being Power Ball, High Jump Kick, U-Turn, and Protect with the Charcoal again. I ran up Charcoal last week. I did it again this week. I have Protect just to scout out what move Darm's going to lock into if it wants to come in. Powerball is stupid spammable. The only mon that can take it comfortably is Barbaracle, and Barbaracle can only take 2 Powerballs into a High Jump Kick. It can take a Powerball into a High Jump Kick, but it can't take 2 Powerballs into a High Jump Kick if it's offensive, which I expect it to be. And then U-Turn just for general momentum and pivoting. Not much else to say about this. Cinderace is just going to break this week. I definitely have to scout out for stuff like Scarfs and stuff, but otherwise, Cinderace has a solid matchup in this game, and it's going to put in a lot of work. Fifth up is going to be Seoulgaleo Steel. This is a really interesting set now. This is max speed, hasty nature with a lot of different EVs you guys see there. Moves being a Parting Shot, Multi-Attack, a Flamethrower, and Grass Pledge. This is an offensive Seoulgaleo. I usually bring defensive, but this time it's going to be fully offensive. A Parting Shot for just pivoting again. I wanted Multi-Attack over Flash Cannon in the end just because it did so much more to stuff like the Togekiss and the Skuntank and Gallade because they have some type of special bulk, especially Gallade meaning. Grass Pledge for Barbaracle so it can't set up on me, and then Flamethrower just because Fire Spam is stupid against this team. The only mon I can't really touch too well is the Rotom here and the Sableye, but Sableye I have other answers for, and Rotom, while that is a little bit scary, I can always Parting Shot out on that, so it won't be too scary. Otherwise, Seoulgaleo has a pretty solid matchup overall here, and I'm really excited to use an offensive Seoulgaleo for once in the final week of the PTL. That is Seoulgaleo, and then finally we have Galarian Weezing. Galarian Weezing is neutralizing gas with Black Sludge. Max HP, max defense with the moves Strange Steam, Flamethrower, Will-O-Wisp, and Haze. Haze to make sure that Barbaracle can outsweep me with a Shell Smash. Will-O-Wisp because I mentioned it a billion times already, a lot of physical attackers. And then Strange Steam and Flamethrower because Fire Spam and just Strange Steam in general. This can take a hit from Darmanitan. It should be able to take any one hit unless it's banded. Earthquake banded probably kills me. This is actually going to switch into Ferrothorn, believe it or not, because Gyro Ball and Iron Head are only doing so much, and I can burn it the following turn. So that's pretty cool. And Weezing's just overall good against a few other mons on his team as well. And that is going to be Weezing, and that is going to be a really quick rundown of my opponent's team, or well, my team actually. I'm really excited to use Cinderace. I really feel like it's just going to claim a bunch of kills this game. If you guys saw my week 1 game, I got 6 kills with Cinderace in week 1, and now in the final week, maybe I might pick up 6 this game. You never know. But we're going to head over to Pokemon Showdown, and we're going to watch the battle. Alright, we have arrived at Pokemon Showdown, and my opponent did not bring Rotom, but did bring the Alolan Dugtrio. That is fine, everything else was kind of expected. In regards to lead, I am going to lead off with the Cinderace, because it looks stupid good in this matchup, as I had mentioned, and I just want Cinderace to break early game. So I'm going to lead off with it, as you're going to see here. He leads off with the Alolan Dugtrio. I'm like, okay, that's fine. This thing might be Scarf. I could Protect, but I don't want them getting up rocks for free, so I'm going to go out on the Rotom just to scout. As they just go for Earthquake, so I'm thinking, okay, this thing is probably Scarfed in some way. Then they throw off a Toxic, so they are actually definitely not Scarf, which kind of sucks. I do just burn this thing, which I guess it's nice, but now at this point I'm just going to Hydro Pump this thing because they didn't switch out. as they just go for rocks. So turn 3, I am going to get a kill here, which is really nice. My Rotom is on a timer, and the rocks are up, so that kind of sucks. I can't really defog right now, especially because he gets a free switch-in. As Sableye comes out, and now I'm really tempted to defog here because I know I can, but I'm going to Volt out first and try and find another opportunity to later. As I can just go out into Weezing here. It's not doing too much in this game. I mean, it's good in this game, but it's not crazy important compared to everybody else. He just knocks off my Black Sludge, not that big of a deal in the end. I can fire off a pretty free Strange Steam now, as the Gallade comes out actually, the Mon weak to Strange Steam. I was kind of shocked about that. It does have to it, so this is a more offensive Gallade than anything. As they do have leftovers, however, and they go for Stone Edge, and I was like, that's kind of weird. As I just click Strange Steam, because Gallade is so good, it actually loses the second one too. I'm not sure why he's clicked Stone Edge there, and you're going to see here click Stone Edge again. Not sure, he probably doesn't have the Zen Headbutt, I would assume. But Gallade is going to go down, and by turn 7, it's already 6-4. Things are looking really solid. Now he brings out the Darm. I don't want to switch on my Weezing at this point, so I'm just going to die to see what move he locks into. Is going to be the Iron Head. That is a cool move to have on there, as Weezing is going to go down. I can go on to Rotom now. I could have went on to Cinderace and fired off a Pyro Ball, but I feel like getting rocks off the field will be a little bit better for stuff like the Cinderace and the Pod a little bit later on. As Sableye comes out, this is really easy. I can just Volt out on this every time. By the way, that Volt damage from earlier told me that this was a more defensive Sableye and not a specially defensive one, as Voltage is doing 42% to this thing. I'm going to bring out Cinderace now and just fire off a Pyro Ball. I don't really see an issue in that, as if Barbarical wants to come out, it's going to come out. As Sableye stays in and just straight up dies. I'm pretty sure that was a roll, considering that thing was probably more defensive than anything. So that sucks. I'm going to stay in and make sure this thing doesn't set up. However, this thing is not set up. It is Scarf. And that was a possibility in my mind that this thing would be, but I wasn't actually expecting this thing to be Scarf. So he did catch me there. We are in a really good position at this point. It's just losing Cinderace does make it a little bit harder, as I'm just going to Volt out, as Togekiss is going to take this, and Togekiss takes this like a champ. This is definitely a bulkier Togekiss than anything, which is fine. I can go on this Valley and fire off a multi-attack. I have it over Flash Cannon for this reason. It's going to do a whole lot more. As Barbarical comes out, it takes a decent chunk. I know Seoulgaleo at this point is kind of the late game win con, and without Seoulgaleo I could lose to that Togekiss very easily, so I need to keep Seoulgaleo at all costs. I'm going to go on to Appleton just for switching, and at this point I'm really glad I switched Dragon Pulse for Leech Seed, because that means Togekiss never really comes in for free, as it comes in and gets seeded, so that's fine. I'm going to go on to Rotom this following turn, as he pulls a double into Barbarical. That is fine, because Rotom does beat Barbarical 1v1 anyway, barring it, it's not Bandit, it's Scarf at this point, we already know. So I can guarantee take any one hit unless he crits me. I'm just going to Volt out, and luckily he does not crit me, and I'm going to Volt Switch, and this should kill the Barbarical, as it does. So now it is 4-2, all he has is the Darm and the Togekiss left. My Rotom is weakened, which is a little bit unfortunate, but I can use it as a pivot still, so it's not that bad in the end. I go into Seoulgaleo to force out the Darmanitan, and I'm going to go into Appleton. Appleton's really not doing anything in this game at this point. I just want to see what he goes for. As he goes for Flare Blitz, that's fine. It only does 23%, not much. I think he's dual Scarf on this team, to be honest, with Barbarical and the Darm. As now I can just go for Leech Seed, expecting the Togekiss to come out. That is fine. It gets seeded. I don't miss. And Appleton is still looking pretty healthy, and Togekiss is starting to get a little bit low. I'm going to go out into Rotom as he pulls another double into Darm. And at this point, just because he pulled a double, or just and in general, this game is over, because if he kills me here, Seoulgaleo gets to revenge something. And if he doesn't kill me, I'm going to Volt out into Seoulgaleo, and Seoulgaleo kills something, and that is basically how it's going to happen. He doesn't kill me with the U-turn. I live on 2%, which is nuts, and I'm just going to Volt out, and Seoulgaleo's going to come in and claim a kill, because at this point, Darmanitan cannot switch into the multi-attack, and Togekiss is just going to die to it. So that is going to be basically it, as Togekiss is going to take the multi-attack and die, basically. And it is 4-1. There is no one move Darmanitan can click that can knock out all 4 of my Pokemon at this point. I just stay in, he clicks Flare Blitz, he absolutely nukes my world, but it doesn't matter at this point because Appleton can take on this fine. But I'm actually going to have the Gliscod go offensive and go for the first impression and knock out this Galarian Darmanitan, and your Northside Noiverns are going to win the final PTL game 3-0 and finish off the season 8-4. So GG to my opponent Zach. I am pretty happy with how this battle went overall. I am a little bit upset actually that Cinderace only got 1 kill in this game. I feel like it was going to get a lot more than that. But overall, it's still a solid W. Rotom as a pivot did absolutely solid in this game. I'm pretty happy about it. One more time, GG to my opponent Zach. Thank you for the battle. We are going to end off the PTL season with an 8-4 record with a +5 differential. This is like the 6th or 7th season I've done 8-4. Like half of my seasons I've ever played in draft ended in 8-4, which is just absolutely wild. But +5 differential is actually really bad for our record, but we'll still take it anyway. Results for the season, I did get 5th place in the GOAT Crusaders, so we're the 5th best of the 10 GOAT Crusaders. We got 6th in Sword Division, and we got 10th overall of the entire league, which is pretty solid. I'm really happy about that. I have no complaints about it. I am going to throw up the bracket on screen, the playoff bracket, as you guys can see. I have absolutely no idea how this is broken down, to be completely honest, except for the wildcard spot. But otherwise, I have no idea why we are facing who we are facing. Next week, or not next week, in 2 weeks, because we do have a bye week next week, there will be no PTL video. We face off against the Dynamo Butcherist. Speaking of Butcherist, we're going to butcher that name. I have no idea how to say that. I'll make sure I pronounce it right by the end of the next video. And I don't even know who the coach is, to be completely honest. They are a coach in the Shield Division, which we are not a part of. But we are going up against them in the first round of playoffs. That'll be in 2 weeks. We have a bye week next week, just to reiterate for you guys. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys for watching so much. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to head out of here. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.